The great V.
I know.
No, I got to pay fine. Not just to you people, but your many listeners across the world.
Thank you.
I've been struggling.
Thank you.
You know, this is Africa, and the technological world is.
I said it. But Leggy, I was in a conversation. I said the chief spokesman of the government should never be struggling for gadget, for minutes, for data, for all the things. How do you do your work?
But man, let me tell you something. It's not about the government business. I know chief spokesman of the government. The simple thing, and let me say this, but just the onus is on me.
I know. Yeah,
I set up all my stuff here.
Yeah, because you told me, but me, I set up.
I'm set up. Trust me. And I came back, but technology fails people
all the time. You're right about that.
What you see here, so it's a new setup.
Oh wow!
To give me an opportunity of broadcasting to aid. You see me with a microphone before my hair. Is what I do. I in studio and all that kind of stuff. And he said I was set up for these kinds of reasons. Yeah, and this is my first time. This is my first time using them.
Okay.
So I'm learning by the two.
No, my man, no problem, Legend.
No problem. Thanks so much. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation to be here for the first time in the Issues Room. My brother, I know you've kind of maybe listened to us at some point. Whatever it is, we're only in the interest of our country, and I'm sure you are. Irrespective of your role as a Liberian, the most important thing is that our country thrive, remains at peace, and that, no matter the circumstance, that's the only place we have. And I think all of us on this platform tonight, including our viewership, can agree with that. So we'd like to welcome you. This conversation is going to be one of camaraderie. We're going to treat you like brother, but we're going to hold your foot to the fire.
No worries, young man. I'm on the other side of the microphone this time. And so let me say thank you to Volcano. I was telling Moses behind the scene, I didn't hear from my brother for quite a while.
I know.
I call him Mexican fajitas.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
It's been a long time. It's been a long time coming. Actually, it's been a long time coming, and I hope I'm not over modulating.
No, you're okay. No, it's good. It's good. It's good.
And so, all right, so let's set the ball rolling, gentlemen.
Volcano, please let me just say, Mr. Minister, man, look, for me, I miss you from the newsroom, man. Legend. You're a very good newscaster, you boy. I enjoy you.
Myself missed the radio. I miss the radio a lot, but
man, you're a good newscaster, legend.
Most of you edited well at LBS. And I know, and let me say to the public, Moses and I have had differences at different levels.
Yeah,
but I respect him and he respects me. Yeah. And that is why the conversation should be that way. It's not about the personality, but the issues. So when he reached out to me with certain things, he said to me, "See, my man," I said, "Okay, let's have this conversation for the greater public to understand where we are as a government and some of the things I believe that have been permeating the international, social media landscape, so to speak." Because your program is not rebroadcast, as far as I know, on a local frequency in Liberia.
No.
So, but let's talk about the issues because I believe that it's important.
We started that with ABC Radio, but then our previous page got hacked, and so we just lost, contact with everything. But it's part of the plan to do that. But again, thank you so much. Let's start the conversation tonight. So many things has happened in the country over the last several weeks to now. But before we get to that, we just want to understand your current role at the Ministry of Information. We know you're the minister. You were appointed by the government. You've been in that role probably a little over 3 to 4 years, or maybe, if not, close to 5. How has it been? Because there's a lot of things coming out of that ministry. Low salaries from employees who were protesting. There was news that Ledgerhood is a loggerhead. with the president, or the president not speaking to him. All of those kinds of things. You're the best person to explain where are you now in your role as the minister and speaking for the government. Let's start from there.
V, and I like to call you V because I want to make it chatty.
Yeah, man,
So
like
that we
And
understand
how
each
long
other's
we've
role.
been brothers. You're right.
Yeah. I actually took over the ministry. I got appointed on the 1st of October 2020. Having spent all the rest of my years in 29 from 2010 to 2018 and 2020. I spent at least for the good part of my years 10 years at LBS, Deputy Director General, and then coming on to the Ministry of Information as a minister, then proper at 2020 when the president celebrated his birthday in October and surprisingly appointed me as Minister of Information. I got confirmed, I think, about 2 weeks later, and I took on the mantle. So technically, I've been there 2 years. This is my third year running as the administration winds down to elections. So we've been trying to pedal the canoe, so to speak, proverbially, in a way that you keep it afloat. I don't want to say that it all's been rosy because it hasn't been. But the truth of the matter is, when you work in government, there are a multiplicity of interests and communications. Like Dr. Amos Sawyer says, one of those things that we consider the soft part of national development in a country like Liberia, struggling to rebuild its infrastructure as a result of the devastating, colossal damage of our infrastructure. If you look at communications in that way, you will look at it as a baton tool. But somebody who study the sciences and the arts will say communication should be a national priority. It didn't happen and hasn't been happening for quite a while. But we've been there trying to meddle the different kinds of challenges and trying to do the best we can under the circumstances, from LBS to the Ministry of Information. Since I've been there as Minister of Information, I try to explain to our national population audience that the way communication has been treated over the years, the national spokesperson of the government through the Ministry of Information, has not been treated the way it should have been treated. And I can argue and we can make sense out of it. Most people think that the ministry should be that place where it should be on the reactive standpoint. It shouldn't be. It should be on the positive standpoint where you're creating programs and agendas for promoting national programs and policies of the government. That is within the remit as enshrined by law. To do that, it means you have to have the requisite resources to sit down strategically, plan, and deal with it. At the same time, too, you have to work in synergy with other ministries and agencies to develop those kinds of programs and policies that will resonate and make sure that the government does what it does. But it is not just unique to this administration. Over the since the war, as a people, we've treated communication as an activity, and we've made the case that whatever you do, whether you like it or not, you're talking about a computer without the necessary software to create the kind of things you want to create will not work. So national, the infrastructures in terms of health, education, the road infrastructure, all the binding constraints that national development talks about. If you match them against communications, media and communications, somebody will say, "Man, sit down on the sidewalk because we're not ready yet for it." But that would be the sad mistake. But the truth is that regardless of the hardware, there is a software to everything you do. And I will continue to reference the late Dr. Amos Sawyer that the the software of national development, which consists of something like a national communication strategy that will be part of the national development plan, is sine qua non to anything else, because you're dealing with the human psychosis. It's qualitative in his own outcomes, but at the end of the day, it is far-reaching. You build the roads, you build the hospitals, you build the schools and everything else. But what good are these institutions when people don't appreciate them? People don't understand how to use them. People don't understand what they represent and all that sort of thing. And we can see that today in our various communities, how people treat national assets. The only thing that can change mindsets is communication. It's investing in communication. So the software, as opposed, just opposed against hardware, should all come together. That makes national development holistic. And I will say that as my preambular statement.
What's this?
Look, Mr. Minister, well said. I had the opportunity of working at the Ministry of Information, working for LBS. Look, when I take a look back at the Ministry of Information today, honestly, Mr. Minister, I empathize with your situation. Our governments over the year have not really shown interest in communication at the level at which it should be. Take, for example, the Ministry of Information of yesteryear. You had a functional printing press. You had a functional Liberian news agency. You had a functional broadcasting division. You had a functional television department, and other components of communications were all viable. Today, the Ministry of Information, you are there, you can better speak to that. But from what I see in the public domain, the Ministry of Information role in national development has been minimized. And this is where I say I empathize with you, a career journalist, to even be able to function at the level at which you want to see communication going. Because, like you said, communication is not an event, it's a process. We need to invest into that, but we are not there. Does that really frustrate you that as a trained communicator, but your hands are tied? How do you juggle that, Legend?
I mean, most it's true that and it's not just about, and I will say this much, it's not advent of national communications was talked about.
Losing him.
He's gonna come in.
Leggy, as it is right now, if you can hear me, we're losing you. Leggy, can you hear me? We're losing you. Everything you said, we cannot hear you. I don't know if the internet, yeah, everything you're saying now, we kind of lost contact with you. So let me just put you backstage. We'll come back to you. Let's hope that
He can get that taken care of.
In and out, and then we started to lose him.
Yeah.
So hold on, Moses. Let me see if
you can bring him back. He's been.
Yeah, we still.
Yeah, try.
One way to remedy one way sometimes when these kinds of things happen, you probably could log off and come back in, because we're not hearing you now. Everything you're saying. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know. That a new gadget. That a baby.
Connectivity problem.
Probably log off and come back in. Probably that will help. You can do that. I'll put you backstage and come back to you once I see that you look settled. But Moses, we haven't even got into the nitty gritty of the conversation.
Yeah,
and you can rightly see that, it's frustrating.
it's
frustrating. And not to say anything regarding the government or whatever it is, many of the sectors in the country are underfunded. Many of the sectors. So I don't think the information ministry is of any exception. You talk about the DEA budget being $2 million. You talked about the
mental health,
getting $30,000. So that in itself is a serious matter. And sometimes we miss priorities. And like you said, communication, man, listen, you and I wouldn't have been known. The people that are making all the talk, the people that say their own talk show, our man Jay Rennie, you got Henry Costa, you got Stanton Witherspoon the other day who nobody knew about. But that's what media does.
Yeah,
promotes you, there's a power. There's a power.
Communication is a powerful tool, yeah.
Henry Peabody, those guys have made themselves household name, Tumbling George,
Yeah.
And how did it happen? It's by the media. So any leader who comes to power and do not understand the power of the media, of course, then I don't know where did you come from. But let's see. Let me bring him in and see. Say something. Let's see. Can you hear me, Leggy?
Oh my God.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
Not yet. But I like I said, I advise that you log off and come back in. Probably that may remedy the situation. Sometimes we find that to happen because when you kind of went blank, the internet went in and out. You were frozen for a while. So let's try it. In fact, he's frozen now.
Okay, yeah, he's frozen.
So I mean, it's sad, and that's what it is. That's what it is. When you think about how, and not to pinpoint anything else, the man who really put some money in the media was Charles Taylor.
Oh yeah. Oh, the man knew that. He knew the importance of communication.
Of the media. He understood the purpose of the media, and the media propagated for him. When all odds were against him, when all the decks were stacked against him, he made use of the media at the highest point. In fact, the media fought the war for Taylor. You remember with Robin White?
Mm-hmm.
Who didn't want to listen to BBC and Taylor?
5 o'clock, my man. 5 o'clock. Everybody glued to the radio.
Oh, that that was small thing. Oh man.
Yeah.
But first you will get the pips, right?
Yeah.
Pip, pip, pip.
Focus on
1700 hours GMT. Welcome to the BBC Focus on Africa. And then you see people by the radio, my man.
Everybody glued, my man.
That's the power of the media. And some presidents don't even understand it.
No.
There's a combination of a good legislature and a powerful media.
Yeah.
Because the combination there is that when the legislature means business, and the media is consistent and transparent and professional, balanced and ethical, my brother, you have a thriving society.
Of course.
You have an enlightened society.
Yeah.
But it's unfortunate at this point.
It is.
Everybody muddying the water. The water, my man, the media like kiss me. You know what they call kiss me? You know kiss me?
I know kiss me. I grew up in Galaville, Galaville. You asked me about kiss me.
All kinds of people holding gadgets, cell phone. I think the minister smiling, maybe hearing us.
No, you used to go to the swamp. They asked me if I know about kiss me.
I hope you can hear me too, because I'm not even hearing myself any longer.
Yeah, you go. We can hear you.
But so that's why let's continue.
I said it. the media look like kiss me now. Everybody just, how the kiss me thing, they'll be all inside each other. Everybody, gadgets, cell phone, all kinds of stuff, my man. You go to press conference, man, that phone, that lay down right there, off.
Yeah, but anyway, let's get the news on the go ahead. Yeah.
We cannot say anything more than what you've said in terms of the multiplicity of media and citizen journalism. You can legislate for the fact that people have a right to information,
right,
and they have the right to also give information.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing our Constitution has said and will continue to emphasize is the responsibility aspect of it. And we will continue to ask ourselves, all of us as Liberians, whether at home and abroad, to think about the country we're trying to develop, and how do we dialogue. I love the dissent. Trust me, if you ask me, I love the dissent. But I also believe that there should be respectability in our dissenting voices. As I say to people, one does not have to use insulting and denigrating words to disagree with a point or an opinion or a policy matter that a brother of the government is postulating. Any strong intellectual will deal with the issues at bar as opposed to using words that are denigrating of an individual or an institution of a person. And this is where I cut my line, because all of us are trained journalists, all three of us. Those people who say, quote unquote, political commentators, having had the requisite training to understand that when you use a particular tool, look at this program. This program is not broadcast on using frequencies from Liberia, but it's an intellectual program that people should have. Those are the kinds of things perhaps we should be listening to, not opposed to what the other side presents and talking about people's person and the way in which it's presented and all those kinds of things. But that's the marketplace. That's the marketplace. My only thing is that when you see certain things about people, you should be held responsible and accountable on the basis for that. If you cannot provide that, then it's a whole ball game. But let's go back to what we're talking about, our whole issue of the Ministry of Information and the role we play and how we're trying. Just last week, I issued an invite to the Press Union of Liberia. Long years ago, Volcano and Moses, when those kinds of letters come, so they're coming close to registration now. So I was imagine I'm in many chat rooms and I see people say, "Oh, going back to the days of PRC decree and all that kind of stuff." I said, "No, we're having a discussion. Let's look at, because we're going towards the elections, how do political clout as Minister of Information?" I also believe that I'm a media person, and I think that we should hold ourselves accountable. We should hold ourselves responsible. We should make sure that whatever we do, we should not be the catalyst through which people will use to ferment violence into the fire. As public officials, people say a lot and it should say, because that's what we sign up for. When you're a public official, your privacy is very limited. So people should criticize you. People should say things that they don't believe in your policies and your actions. But they should not disrespect your person and your privacy to the extent that it borders on hate. And that's all we're trying to achieve. Because at the end of the day, this is one Liberia we're looking for. A peaceful country. Contestation is all about electioneering. Elections is about contestation. Once you go to the elections, who wins wins. We'll move on. We shake each other hands. Barrow and I will be playing during the week. People will argue all weekend. Barrow will win, I will win, and that sort of thing. But people should not use that to foment violence, to insult other people, to take chances of subverting the peace. We should criticize each other to the strongest. The policies that the government pursued should be questioned, as we question also to the ruling party, question also to the policies that other people say they bring on board that will do better. That's the marketplace of and a juxtaposition of democracy and the pluralism of ideas. So we should do that. But we should be respectful and
Let me throw
mindful
this
of
at you
each
quick,
other.
Mr. Minister.
And that's all I am.
Yeah. So usually people talk about the gains, but where we are now and the few miles away to the national elections, what are the challenges right now this government is facing? Let's start from the challenges, then we can go on a reverse with Moses coming in with the gains. But I'm concerned about where we are as a country at this point. I know we've seen a lot happening in the country, but talk about the challenges, Mr. Minister.
I'm happy that for once on a
We're losing you again.
International
Continue.
platform as it is, that there's a recognition that the country has made progress. Most often in time, somebody would say, "Oh, challenges. I mean, no gains have been made." Somebody would say, "No gains have been made," but at least this country hasn't. What this administration has inherited is a result of long years of misrule and perhaps a parochial eco governance system coming way back, not just from the Tottenham administration or the first administration of our country. The same thing about economic and bloating our getting the best of our resources, giving our people basic health, improving on the basic health care, improving on our rules, infrastructure, making sure that education remains paramount, making sure that the governance issues are correct, fighting corruption, all these kinds of things remain a challenge, and it's not good. And it didn't start from this administration, neither the previous administration, neither the from and I'll say so. And somebody would think that I'm being political. But I've come to realize that when you read our country's history and dating back to the formation of our much education in terms of national governance of what they call they had to do, and then come the modern era of our country, things started to evolve. So we need to move on. It's not about it deals with what it inherits and move on. If we did that, we'll be making more progress as opposed to what we're looking for. Oh, these people did this and they didn't do that, and the other people didn't do that. And that is it. But I believe that all of the things that I've named into earlier are the challenges of our country.
It's really.
Are you getting me, gentlemen?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, no. We missed a lot of what he said. I'm inclined to think that it would be better if the minister can come via WhatsApp. I think even his audio would be better because we're really losing him.
That he can just call, eh?
Call in, yeah. Leggy, if you can hear me, what I think would be much expedient at this point is that if you can call, or Moses calls you and we can feed you in live. That way we can have the conversation because he's trying to log in again on the other side. Yeah. So
let me call
he's
him.
back. Hold on.
Okay.
Leggy?
Yeah, he's spinning.
So again, we're not hearing you. So Moses is gonna call you. Let me
call him.
Well, these are the challenges we talk about, technology, equipment, all these things that have the way of playing on us. I know he came in good faith, but things happen. Even myself here, sometimes I struggle. I'll make sure everything is all set, and then I show up in studio, and then crazy things happen. A few times, these things happen. But anyhow, I know a lot of you, have burning issues you will rather want to raise tonight. If we put him through the line, then it would be so difficult for callers to call because we haven't even really delved into the crust of the conversation. He came a little late, and then coupled with now he's having all of these technological crisis as it is. So I would prefer actually if he can just come by audio, which would be probably the most preferable way, because at some point we all know it's him and his voice would matter. We want to hear what he has to say rather than see what he has to say. So that's the difference here. We want to hear Moses what he has to say. We don't want to see what he has to say.
But look, I just talked to him behind the scenes, so he's going to use his tablet.
Okay, so he's trying to use his tablet.
Yeah, to comment.
All right,
and that can also work well.
Let's see. Well, it's unfortunate that we have to be dealing with this again, but he came in good faith, and I thought that we have had a wonderful conversation. Yeah. But I would hate to cheat the audience, especially if he's giving his answer, and people he's going in and out. Then it doesn't go well. But overall, say Wilson say he has a couple of questions. Let's see when he comes back. Say it, D. Wilson. He's trying to get his tablet connected. But overall, Moses, irrespective of what the minister says here tonight, there would be misperception. There would be personal views. There would be, like he talked about, he likes this dissent, right? The disagreement, but it should be done in a civil manner rather than attacking people, the character and stuff like that. Talk about the things that they fail to do. And I say this all of the time for as long as we've been on this podcast and prior to, I don't have problem with President Weah as the person. I love the guy as the person. He did what he had to do. But as a president, what he fails to do is what I have the problem with. And no one can tell me that I don't have the right to say that, like the minister is saying that we have the right, because when you come in a public limelight, when you become a public servant, you will be criticized, and there's a positive sometimes out of criticism. Go ahead.
No, I was saying that when you're in the limelight, your life become an open book. So everyone has to read that open book.
Yeah. And as I was saying, there's positive sometimes in criticism. Yeah. And that is why you must listen to your citizens. Some of the things that your confidants come to you to tell you, it's not a personal thought. It's coming from the gutters where they sat. It's coming from the under the plum tree little board they were playing on. It's coming from, the market ground. So when these people come to you, take it in.
They are
Sleep over.
feeding you what the people are saying. Yeah.
But it's not the case for most of our African leaders. They all will want to hear Kwaku, you strong. You know, and it doesn't work like that. Kwaku, you're not always strong. Some day that Kwaku, you can't even get out of bed. So we can't tell you, say, Kwaku, the day you able to get out of bed.
Because we are human beings, you know,
Yeah.
nobody is a perfectionist. So we all have our own strengths and weaknesses. We have limitations. So we just have to accept that. I agree with you, Volcano. We have to accept that. But like the minister was saying, the discourse, we have to do it with some degree of respect. You know, if you're going to come and accuse me of a crime, just make sure you have the evidence to show that, hey, I committed this crime. And if I'm also accusing you of anything that I believe that you did, I should be able to, you know, provide, you know, the evidence. But to just go about, you know, tarnishing the high-end reputation of people in the absence of evidence, that's not journalism. No, that's not.
But when you think about also public officials who themselves are being accusatory and making statement, and they said liquor talk.
Oh, no.
Where did you go with that?
No, that's not right.
Yeah, but Moluba Molu is a public official. The man is the chairman of the party. The man said some scandalous things about the president. And then he said a liquor talk, and the man stay party chairman. Then what you expect some people to media people to do too? They will say that liquor talk. Donald Trump said it was a locker room talk. So
No.
Mauna talk would be in the closet. It was
No,
closet
but
talk,
two wrongs do not make one right.
I understand, Moses, but at some point you know people need to draw the line before they even cross over the line.
I agree.
If you don't draw the line, and some lines are very, very subtle. They are a silhouette. You really can see them. It's a shadow. That is why you got to be very, very careful.
Yeah.
Very careful. So, you know, when I took my driving test here in the States, we went through the parking lot. You know, the parking lot got leadways, right? And honestly, you can't just drive across the parking lot. You get
you got to follow. Yeah,
you got to follow
the leeway,
the roads in the parking lot, because you got
you don't just go driving across. Yeah.
So I just going through the parking lot. So the man said, "You stupid." What am I doing? He said, "You stupid." I said, "But what you causing me?"
He said that all the people cars will be running though.
He said, "You don't know that you're supposed to stop and observe." I said, "Well, all you supposed to tell me." He said, "No, I didn't have no other way to tell you, because you just going through. You could hit somebody or hit a car." I said, "Okay." He said, "You feel." The man feel me, my man. The man was done with me.
The man said, "You can't pay attention." He doing his own thing. Okay. The man says, "Oh, okay."
Let's see that if the tablet is working.
Yeah, he's on the tablet now. Yeah.
The tablet ain't working. Oh.
No, he's on.
We can't hear you.
Do you hear?
No.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you going on.
Damn.
So man.
Okay, he's coming.
I hear that the old star. I'm trying to move that. That was when he was in his other studio. Yeah. So the man said he fed me. So I said, all right. So from that day, my man, I realized in parking lot, I pay attention. So we got what we call imaginary stop signs.
Yeah.
The point I'm trying to make here in the analogy I was putting forth is that in these things that we do, we need to be careful, extremely careful. And it's hard to draw the line, especially today. Today is very hard. You know, on our personal social media pages, if you are on your personal page, you want to do some crap, that would be you in Facebook, right?
Oh, yeah.
But when you now have something like the issues room, you know, that's why we have to really stay in certain lane.
Oh, yeah.
And we can't cross those boundaries. We have to be careful. And I think that's what Ledger was trying to share with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you hear him, Volcano?
No. Not yet.
No audio.
No audio. I don't know if you're hearing me, but no audio from your end. And your mic
Maybe
is not
maybe
muted.
his microphone is
No,
muted.
no, it's
No,
not
I
muted.
think he got it. Eh? Let him try something.
Not yet.
Oh my God.
Not yet. You know,
let me
I
call
think
him. Let's do audio.
Yeah, the honest thing to do, Ledger, would be audio. You've already been here, so people know it's you, so we can feed you in by audio.
So let me call him and see if we can do audio.
Let me put you backstage. But overall, you know, I think we applaud his effort to be here tonight, and it's just unfortunate that his gadgets are not just performing. And yes, I'm a living witness. And sometimes I've been in Liberia where I try to broadcast, and the network can be very, very, very difficult. So I know exactly what he's going through. We didn't plan for this. We didn't anticipate this. But that's what happens when you're in a terrible situation, you know, and the people taking the money and putting it on different things. That's what can happen. They pour all the money on different things. So, the
man can bring me. Okay, good.
No, Moses.
Yeah,
no, Moses, give me his number right now. Let me call him so I can feed him through the board. We're not gonna do that.
Okay. Alleged Volcano is gonna call you on your WhatsApp number. Let me send it to him. He's gonna feed you through the board. Yeah, let me call him. All right. He's gonna call you. All right.
No problem.
Okay. Thanks, man.
So text me the number right now.
Yeah, I'm coming. Let me get his number.
My people, the in the Liberian way, my people, your sorrow will do the thing tonight.
Yeah, we have to do everything.
We still got at least some time.
Yeah, we got time to be with the minister. This is part of the technical, problems we deal with sometimes in this business.
Call the number now?
Yeah, man.
Call the number to me if that be the case, or text it now.
Okay. All right. Check your text. I just sent it to you.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
You say you sent text. I go in the text.
Eruptible.
Which text? You send it to WhatsApp or you send
it to your Eruptible?
But then that's not text. How you send me? What do you mean Eruptible?
I mean, don't you have text message on this number, Eruptible Shelton? Your phone number. You just go copy the thing and put it into WhatsApp.
But Moses, you never send me no text. Did you send the email?
I sent it as a text, my man.
Moses, man, stop playing. No text here. Why am I gonna?
I did. And check up. I
Moses, you never send me no text.
Okay, not just saying the thing, my man. Okay. Have
And
you seen it?
It's not here.
Okay, so let's do this. Let me read it to you so you can.
No, there's a man private number. I don't want to read it live. That's his private number. You can't read a man's number live.
Do you want me to send you text? I just send the thing to you.
Moses, here's my text message. There's nothing from you. Why are we arguing? It just came. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Let me see it. Hold on.
Oh my God.
No, it didn't even come. Like an old text.
Okay. Let me send it again. Please make sure you check your number that is under Eruptible.
Wow.
Do you have it there? I just sent it again. Do you see it?
Moses, I don't know why you're sending this text message. Are you sending this message to 442722808?
Yeah, that's the 404 number.
But then it's not coming. It's not being delivered. I don't have to lie to you. It's not being delivered. It's just not
So
coming.
let me go to your WhatsApp number again. I don't know what's happening, but let me send it to this and see what's going on. All right, check again.
It just came through WhatsApp.
I just sent it to WhatsApp. Yeah.
I said it just came, Moses.
Okay.
All right.
Call
So
him.
let me try to get that on.
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, you know, he was talking about the press union, right?
Yeah, the
And
relationship.
yeah, so continue in our trend. What, because usually when the minister calls media institution to the ministry, is like, it's about to muscle the press, and that's what he was trying to talk about. So continue there while I try to reach him.
Yeah, the government and media relationship. That's what he was talking about. That for the fact that media institutions, have the right, to publish, they have the right to broadcast. That does not in any way mean that anyone can take to the airwave or take to any newspaper and just publish anything. There are laws on the book. There's what we call libel, that is for publication. If you publish anything that defames someone's character, if you report anything that is considered to be untruthful, you can be sued for libel. If you broadcast anything that harms someone's reputation or endangers the person's safety, you can be sued for slander. That's in broadcasting. So these laws are there, and the expectation is that our media institutions in the country will adhere to these laws. But it goes both ways. For the fact that the laws are on the book, that does not in any way mean that if a public official engages into something that is absolutely wrong and the media reports that, then it means that a government official can say, well, I'm going to go to court, or I will institute other unlawful acts against the media institution. And, as an advocate, as a journalist myself, we all will condemn that. So the responsibility of reporting, the responsibility of holding public officials accountable, and even the responsibility of holding ourselves accountable is a two-way street. We hold our public officials accountable, and then we hold ourselves accountable as well. Yeah. So we hope that people in government will not try to use, other
Trying to
means.
reach him now.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear the
Hold
phone
on,
ringing.
Moses.
Back.
Legend?
Yeah.
I'm back on.
Good.
You back on? You mean in the studio or here? Because we're on WhatsApp now, which is better?
I'm listening to you guys through the studio.
Okay, so you can hear us.
So you want to bring him in the studio?
Okay, we're good. Okay, so quickly, man, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to thank you for your indulgence and hanging here with us tonight. It's unfortunate that technology has a way. The minister did mention that he just got a new set of gadgets, and he was hoping that he was going to, kind of use it tonight without any hindrance. But unfortunately, we've been having a series of outages, and we reverted to utilizing just the audio. So if you just join us, you're listening to the Liberian Information Minister, Honorable Ledgerhood Julius Rennie. He's here tonight. We're having a friendly conversation about his role as information minister, the relationship of his ministry to the government and people of Liberia and the media in particular. We've covered some grounds, and we were in the area where we're discussing some of the challenges of the government at this point. Mr. Minister, could you just probably, in a quick summary, go back to that? Because when we were having a conversation, you were going in and out, and it was not fair to the listeners. So please reiterate some of the things that you talked about with regards to the challenges the government faces before we look at some of the gains.
So thank you, Volcano and Moses, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to appear on your platform tonight. Let me just say for the record that, you see, just the fact that technology feels everyone, no matter what side of the divide you are. I was watching you both trying to figure out how to get my number, and that's what thing I was saying. Imagine me in a third world country.
Yeah.
A match against you guys in the first world country. But that's it.
Yeah.
What he was trying to say initially was that, look, regardless of all of the things we hear about our country in Liberia, the fact is that we should remain responsible, especially with the media. I'm a media background individual. And I say this because I think that most often in time, the debate setting the agenda, what you people hear on the outside of our country, on the other side, are simply based on the fact of what is reported at home. There's a domestic saying in Liberia, the street doesn't sell you. I mean, the house doesn't sell you. The street wouldn't buy you. The local dailies, what the radio stations discuss every morning, those are the agenda setting things that people will discuss daily. And we should continue to hold public officials, most of us who are media people, who are in the government, the feet to the fire, because we now are in a driver's seat. But I always say, and I've argued everywhere in my life, that it should be done in a responsible way. Sometimes debates can be had. We go to different parties, we argue a lot, but we don't insult each other. It's same with the media. We should have these kinds of heated debate, but respectful of each other's personality, each other's views. Once we do that, we're in the realms of responsible journalism, we're in the realms of responsible freedom, we're in the realms of responsible discussion, and a multiplicity of marketing our different ideas. That's all I am saying. You know, for this government, we're not in the business of closing media outlets. I was speaking this morning to ECOWAS Radio, coming out of the Ome Radio to ECOWAS Radio. And they were asking me, I remember my letter to the Press Union Liberia, and it was subjected to all kinds of interpretations. Some people say, oh, going back to the dark days of Decree 88A, all that kind of stuff. We were only holding discussions. We asked for discussions on strengthening ethical standards and social responsibilities. That's all we're doing. Our constitution provides that people should speak freely, but they should be held responsible thereof. Somebody asked me and said, to what extent, if people continue to violate, would you do? I said, we'll continue to dialogue on these matters. We'll continue to find a way to deal with it. But no, there's no win in trying to close a media house or trying to stifle or muzzle free speech. It's just, most of the time, the things that are happening now, the transgressions that are taking place, are simply based on lack of knowledge, lack of training, and lack of understanding of the attending responsibilities that they have. Other than that, we'll move forward. We'll continue to talk about it, but there is no reason why any media institution must be closed down because of dissenting views, even to the extent that it hurts, but we can find a way around it.
Mr. Minister, quick, one of the viewers here tonight, Mr. C. Wilson, asked the question, with all the limitations Samuel Doe had and with no prior outside exposure, Doe called press conferences on many occasions for the 10 years he ruled the country. Since President Weah incumbent say he has not been able to hold press conferences as expected from a president, particularly when it comes to issues of national concern. In your capacity as the information minister, why is it not happening? What do you think is responsible for this? Because you hear this in all quarters. The president does not address the nation except his sonar. The president doesn't care. Why is this, Mr. Minister?
I don't believe that assertion is true in terms of the president doesn't address the nation. Because the president doesn't hold press conferences as they styled to come to the executive mansion behind the podium and talk to the media doesn't necessarily mean president doesn't address the press conference. President meets just today. President signed a book of condolence. He was coming out. He met the press and they spoke to him. Isn't that addressing the press?
The people
Who stopped anybody from asking any question they wanted to ask?
The people say a former press conference where international journalists would come in, like it used to be, giving outside work an entry to the issues of national concern in the country. I think that's where people are coming from, Mr. Minister.
The president had several engagements with international press. But besides that, too, let's understand this, Volcano. Times have changed. We're in a modern world. Presidents tweet, presidents issued Facebook messages, presidents say things in bits and pieces. No need. If the president decides that his style is to deal with the press at different levels, that's his style. It doesn't have to be any longer that mundane kind of situation where one stands behind a microphone and a podium, bringing all shades and opinion together. And so you ask me, I ask you. The president has been very open to media people. The fact that they don't accept the style doesn't necessarily mean the president has not been open and amenable to the press in Liberia or international press, so to speak.
Okay. Moses?
Yeah, so just before the next question, I would Mr. Minister, do you hear me? Does he hear me?
I can hear you though.
Okay. Yeah, so I was saying that the meeting with the Ministry of Information and the press union, how did that meeting go? What evolved out of that meeting?
Oh, the meeting was very cordial. Very cordial. In fact, the press union welcomed the meeting. And let me just say this to many of the naysayers, that we call that meeting and people misread all of the different kinds of things. Look, this country has moved on. There is no interest. There is no way a superstructure called Ministry of Information can sit down and say it can muzzle the press or stop people from saying what they want to say. Citizen journalism, the multiplicity of media types and sources to information. So it's crazy for somebody to think in the wildest of the dream by thinking that just the fact that we have an issue of a particular reportage, we're going to close a radio station down that will stop people from saying what they want to say. Is simply wrong and mundane, and it's ludicrous, so to speak. For me, as Minister of Information, who is a trained journalist to the core, who's gone through the ropes of Liberian journalism, all we want to do is to ensure the peace and tranquility of our country. And when you hear things, or when you begin to see a pattern of things going overboard, it is important to call the stakeholders. I sit down at the Ministry of Information every day. People call, oh, Mr. Rennie, or Minister, you hear the person say this, the person say that, person got different shades of opinion, whether for or against. And I said many a times to people, I say, if you believe you're a public official, that you've been malign in the media, go to the press union in Liberia. Don't come to the Ministry of Information. The best place to go is for media and peer review, using the mechanisms available by the media itself, so that they can deal with their own peers and say, oh, this thing you wrote or this thing you said, you wrong this public official or you wrong the ordinary Liberian. Don't come to the Ministry of Information, because any attempt to do so will be seen, quote unquote, as muzzling the press. And I know for a fact. That is why we wrote the PR and said, look, let's have a discussion. A discussion not necessarily adversarial to any reportage, but let's start thinking about going forward. How do we deal with these kinds of excesses in the media so that tomorrow we don't throw our country down the garbage just because we think that we want to be heard? You know as well as I do. And I make reference to your platform. The way you conduct yourselves, you criticize, you hold our feet to the fire as public officials, but you do not cross that red line because you are trained journalists, you are trained communicators, and you know the ropes. Somebody say, oh, I'm a social or I'm a political commentator. So my point is, If you are a basketballer and you are playing a football match, should you hold the ball with your hands and say it's not, it's not a foul? No. Especially so when you're rebroadcasting your program through the frequencies, the airways of Liberia. That's a national public asset that is governed by rules and regulations. And that's all we're saying. It's easy for, I mean, I don't know, but I don't know how much I can say. It's so simplified. So, I get criticized every morning. All public officials get criticized every morning. Who troubles anybody? But when somebody sits a file and make a wildcat allegation, and let me say this much. We've seen situations nearby in Sierra Leone. I gave that as the fresh and classic example. A guy sat down in the Netherlands and put people on the streets in Freetown, and that led to the crushing and brutal murder of people. I hate to say so, but that's fact. We all saw it, we witnessed it international wise. Do you people want that to happen in Liberia? And then somebody will say, oh, Ledgerhood Rennie is sitting down, the Ministry of Information, and not holding people responsible. Holding people responsible does not necessarily mean closing them down. It's reminding them of the responsibility, the ethical and social responsibility. That's all we're doing. Like, hey, don't get carried away by all of the flurry of the talk on the time. You make sure that you have to hold your foot. That the gatekeeping process have to be well manned so that we don't put our country down the abyss. That's all we say. We should disagree. We should disagree strongly, but respectfully. That's all we're saying, and truthfully too.
So how comfortable are you now in your role going forward as we approach the end of this government's tenure?
I've always been comfortable, Volcano. I've had my own differences with respect to how, communications has been treated with respect to the priorities of the government. But I've always been comfortable as an individual. But I always believe that there can be better. Because remember, we started off the conversation by saying national development comes with a lot of things. And one of the reasons why, and not just this administration, it's about after the war. How come communications become an activity, media and communication an activity, as opposed to a pillar, PILLR, of national development? That's why I said about the hardware and the software. We can build all the roads, we can build all the institutions, the schools, the clinics, the hospitals, everything. But people have to understand the psychosis of people. How do you deal with it? It is that software, the qualitative side of communication that we bring to the board, communication, media communication, that will set the agenda that people will know and appreciate that which the government is doing, it is for their own good. And that's what we're saying. We're just only arguing our place at the table. That's all.
Has it gained fruitful results?
Well, it's not yet to where we want to be.
Okay.
And I'll say that to you. But we're making head. At least now people are beginning to understand that there has to be a national strategic approach to communication. If it is not done, then we'll go back in circles. Most of the time, most of the problems we have is just the communication problems. Not because things are not done well. When somebody say to you, government has not investigated any of the quote unquote mysterious deaths in the country, it's not because of anything else. It's because they believe that it's not being communicated well. And one has to understand, we can play the politics, and let's say the opposition will play that politics because of the gullibility of a society. An investigation being held with logic conclusion as opposed to not accepting results are two different things. You can say that we have not accepted the results, conclusive results of the investigation. But to say the investigation wasn't held, that's a whole different ballgame. And this is where I get so frustrated in some of our brothers and sisters on the other side of the political divide, so to speak, because I believe Liberians will all want. There's no real ideological change, but we understand it. So politics is what it is. But let's face the reality. What has not been investigated? You only accept the result. That one thing. I am Barrow played the B at 1-0. You cannot say the game wasn't played. The game was played. There was a result. Say I accept the result. Then that's a whole new debate. But you say the game was never played. Oh man, then I think that's selective amnesia, so to speak.
Just before Moses comes in, I'd like to throw this at you. And the reason I asked you the question of the comfortability in your role, we saw for a short while Eugene Nangbe, the former information minister, was playing duality roles, being the Liberia Maritime Authority boss and at the same time government spokesperson. Why was that happening, Mr. Minister?
I'm not sure that is the truth.
Okay.
I'm not sure that is the truth. The government spokesperson remains my person as Minister of Information, but from time to time, we determine who speaks on certain issues.
Okay. So in that situation, he was closer to what was to be delivered to the people. So he took responsibility.
Thank you. He was closer. He traveled with the president. Then I didn't have the opportunity to travel. I was home holding the fort. The president asked me to hold the fort with the Minister of Justice, and he was there. So he had the information to speak to the
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So to deal with it.
Thank you. I'm just trying to clarify some of these misconceptions that was trending, and it's important that you making these points very clear to our viewing public. Moses.
Yeah. Minister Rennie, it's good that you said that. Some critics of the administration would say that the government struggles with communication problem. The government PR is not too good out there because you have a fractured communication team, meaning that everybody in the government is speaking. You have a presidential aide, Sekou Kolasco, who sometimes takes to the media making policy statement. You have a presidential press secretary, and Mr. Kolasco will go and make a policy statement. Your Minister of Information, you have somebody at the Ministry of Finance who believes that he's more of a Minister of Information than Ledger, who is a trained journalist. Everybody's speaking all over the place. That just create chaos for the government. Do you agree with this criticism that the government communication is fractured?
I don't agree with that. There are individuals in government who, remember, we're not in the Tubman era. We're in social media era. People have the right to disseminate information, whether it's the presidential aide, whether it's the Minister of Finance or the Minister of Public Affairs. In fact, I would be happy if most ministers in their respective domains will be having press conferences and giving information on a regular basis. It eases the pressure on me because they are well placed to talk about the nitty-gritty of their work, as opposed to me, who will talk about the broader issues of governance and the political side of things. So I think it's even a plus for people to do that. Presidential aid is presidential aid. He's there with the president. He's blogging on his own. It does not represent the official position of the government. The government speaks to a Ministry of Information. We speak to different structures. I'm the official spokesperson. If I have to quote the Minister of Justice or any other minister of the presidency, will do that. Presidential press secretary speaks for the president. Those are official line of communication. So so policy, and then and I don't believe that Mr. Kalasco Damaru has anything to do with policy issues. He has his own views, and one must understand that he's a Liberian too, and he feels sometimes his right to speak because when he's with his boss every day, and you have people trying to denigrate a man, people trying to say all sorts of things, and he's right there on the spot. So he's trying to nip social media in the body, using social media as a tool of communication. Not necessarily means that it's the policy of the government.
I think that's a good way to look at it. Thank you so much. I know Moses wanted to say something.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm also looking at the fragmentation component that Moses mentioned. How do you think it plays out coming to our national elections if you don't have a cohesive communication conduit through which the message can, get to the public, Mr. Minister?
Then one has to say what is it we're talking about? Because you see, the National Elections Commission is one of those such institutions, created by the Constitution of our country. It's void of the executive. Once that commission is established by the presidency, the executive has little or no bearing on what they do. So the statements coming of the Elections Commission, even the Ministry of Information don't speak on behalf of the ministry. Speak on behalf of the National Elections Commission. They have their own communication structure. So their issues are their issues. They will speak on behalf of themselves. And it's clear that we have not interfered in the role. The executive has never interfered in the role. I don't believe the legislature will do. The judiciary is there to hear cases emerging from whatever dispute that will emerge. So the elections will be free, fair, and transparent. The president, in his national address to the nation through the state of affairs of our country, made it clear to the international community, not just to Liberians, that he will ensure that all the support necessary to holding free, fair, democratic, and transparent elections will be done. That means the government of Liberia is committed to that. The Elections Commission is respected on the basis of its constitutional mandate. Not even the president can interfere in electoral matters.
So do you agree that some people are already concerned about the credibility of the Elections Commission? Mr. Minister, you're right there in the country with all of...
What are their concerns?
They're concerned about the chair lady and some of the commissioners who were, involved with misappropriation of money to equipment that was used, and of course, even though she went through the legal proceedings, but still people are not satisfied that with something like that happening on her watch, that she would be credible.
Volcano, what can anybody do in life? If somebody says Ledgerhood Rennie took $10, the American jurisprudence that you're in tonight, and somebody says to you, your neighbor says to you, you violated the privacy or something of the sort, or did something wrong, the best place to go is to a court, to the law. And the law says whatever accusations levied against Volcano is untrue. What more can you do? It's vindicated somebody's personal feelings. We can't stop people from thinking otherwise. But to the extent of the credibility and the performance, let's judge Madam Brown Lansana and her commission on the basis of what they've done. These same people have conducted so much elections here that the opposition won. They've won two out of three elections that this commission have held. Credible elections, crucial elections, midterm elections, that this commission that is said that, quote unquote, that you saying people are saying is not credible. That held an election here and the opposition won. So what is it?
I like the fact I like the fact you're making the points, and at least some of these lights that we're throwing on the topics here tonight in the conversation we're holding. Maybe people can open their minds, the opposition can open their minds, and I like the point you made. Yes, that
let me also accentuate, Volcano, that people talk about the legal system and so government, it can lose. Government has lost so many cases, and I say to you that when the government loses a case at the Supreme Court, you hear people saying there's a new day in Liberia. Justice is now being dispensed. When they go to the very Supreme Court and the court ruled against them, they say, oh, we are going back to the dark days. You can't have your cake and eat it,
right?
You can't have your cake and eat it. But we're in a political world. People will say what they want to say. But the truth is, the evidence are there to be seen, to be judged. How can you accuse the election commission for overseeing 3 elections that 2 of it the opposition won? So how is it, today that it's not credible to lead a national election? They see the election commission, man. They see referee that ref 2 gain your win.
Yeah. So listen, man, I know Moses want to come in, but again, I think the necessary it's necessary for us to have these kinds of conversation because it enlightens and opens up the corridor for clearer understanding. But again, Liberians are right there and they're saying these things. The international community, we in the diaspora, we have proximity to all of the issues happening because of the social media age. Why it is true, like you said, don't take everything for a fact coming out of social media. But that is why we're saying that your role as the Minister of Information, the way you're talking now, is necessary for many of these kinds of conversations to be held. And that comes even from the president. What will you say, your take on the rule of law in the country? I don't know how you're going to put that in perspective here, because I've been there. Everyone is riding with serene. Even I've seen pimping boys got serene, and whether it is there for fun, but it's just chaotic when you look when you're in the traffic radar, the safety issue. A car breaks down in the middle of the road, they turn that spot into a mechanic garage, and that car will fix it in the middle of the road. Where do you see those kinds of things, Mr. Minister? Let's be frank.
Volcano, Liberia, from a standpoint of people being kept in bondage for a long while.
Okay.
There's an avalanche of freedom, sometimes overboard. And I agree with you. I get vexed too with all these things. But when you look at the when you look back at where we're coming from as a country, then you can understand that, look, people sometimes must just be given to air it out, to act in ways that otherwise they should not act. But at the same time, too, we should not spare the rod and spoil the child.
But that's what happened, Mr. Minister. That's what happened.
No.
It's saying as though the rod being spared.
Yeah, I agree. I agree to some extent that we're lenient. But again, let's talk about how do we deal with these kinds of situations. By the time government starts to move in, the very advocacy groups on the ground will say human rights abuse. How do we delineate between trying to deal with what we believe a group of people coming from annihilation and bondage to freedom, and then trying to get them now to order, as opposed to trying to use what some people will want to say the strong hands of mama in trying to bring the child to discipline. This is where we're trying to understand ourselves. And it will come to time we'll fizzle in. I mean, there can be no issue, no doubt about the fact that we need to deal with social order. This is about social order. It's not about rule of law. It's just about social order. How do we deal with, years of war where people feel they're being annihilated? Young people coming now, more young people on the streets than never before. And, they want to wear their shirts with their mom. They walk on the streets without their shirts on. They're doing all sorts of things. How do we deal with them and not, unbridle the peace that we have? So it's a catch-22 that we're trying to figure out. But I believe that what is even most important is the fact that in all of this, we're maintaining the peace, we're maintaining law and order to the extent that they are not going overboard in what they're doing. When you go overboard, you face the full weight of the law. Sometimes, it's not sparing the child to the extent that the child becomes so rude and intolerant and abusive. But, in Liberian parlance, we say the child just frisky. So we can tolerate that to some extent. But when they go overboard, they get the full weight of the rod of Papa or Mama, so to speak, in terms of the law.
What's this?
Yeah, look, Mr. Minister, it's good you said that, but what is obtaining to this Liberia, and it seems to reflect a little bit different from what you are telling us. Many will agree that one of the foremost challenges of the current administration is the breakdown in the rule of law. As you and I right now, communicate, we have an ongoing legal issue that the police is still struggling to have a complete control of. That is the situation involving the former Chief Justice, Gloria Scott. Her daughter, was reportedly murdered by armed robber or assailant. And the government is still probing, but the police contradict itself, the justice ministry contradict itself, and there are several other legal issues that have unfolded in our country, and yet the government, seems not to be making progress in bringing these legal issues, to a logical conclusion. Take, for example, the discovery of the arms and ammunition at the Freeport of Monrovia. The police instituted a probe.
Let's pick the cherry one at a time.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
let me focus on this right now.
You're giving me a mouthful to deal with. Let's pick the cherry.
Yeah.
Okay, so
let's pick the cherry one at a time.
Start with it.
Okay,
Start with
so-
the red cherry.
so-
Hold on,
so-
start
so
with
let-
the red cherry, and then we'll do the blueberries.
Okay, so
let's
so-
pick the cherry one at a time.
okay, so Mr. Minister,
Yeah,
help
he got
us.
that.
Yeah,
You want him to
help
speak
us.
to the
Yeah.
Gloria Musu Scott stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, bring us to speed on this issue of Gloria Scott. Where is government on it?
Okay, so where we are, there's an active, ongoing investigation that the police is conducting.
Yeah.
To the extent of that investigation, that's what I can say. As a government, we today issued a statement under the orders of the Minister of Justice that the body of the deceased of our minor, Shalom Musu, will be subjected to forensic autopsy so that we can understand what led to her death. Maybe perhaps can aid in the factual circumstances leading to what happened at the home of a former Chief Justice. That is to the extent. The police have been interviewing the family, including the Honorable former Chief Justice, and all those occupants were in the house and in the compound. I cannot speak clearly to what information that's available because the police itself is not giving us information. Remember, these are criminal matters.
Yeah.
But to that extent, that's what I can say. I can say this much to Liberia, that as a government, we too not just are concerned about happened, but we are saddened by this sadistic situation, the loss of a life, young lady.
Okay.
Whenever a Liberian dies under these kinds of circumstances, it raises eyebrows, and we all saddened about it. The president, the vice president, all have reached out to the former chief justice of our country. So all I can say, regardless of all the different shades of public opinion that's come out from different facets, let us all wait to have a good process of investigation. Let us cooperate with police. Let's cease fire, so to speak. We should not try this case politically or in the court of public opinion, because as the saying goes, opinion has noses. We all have noses to say. We all have something to say, but they cannot be based on what we think. The police is doing its work. Investigation is underway. Let's be patient. Let's wait for the findings. We sympathize. We empathize with the bereaved family. We continue to look forward to the police to do their work. That's all I can say for now.
Look, Mr. Minister, you struck a very certain point that we should not politicize this case, but unfortunately, the chair of the CDC has already.
Towards your mouth?
Yeah. Do you hear me, Mr. Minister?
I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah. Yeah. I was saying that you struck a very certain point that this case should not be politicized. But the chair of the ruling CDC, Moba Molly, has already politicized this matter. First, he tried to drive a wedge between what he called a quote-unquote biological parent of the late Charlo and the Scott family. He said the CDC will travel to Maryland County to meet with the biological parents of the deceased. When did Mr. Molu get to know that the role of the biological parent is critical as speaking to the former Chief Justice that reared this young woman to a university level, and she died she died in such a brutal way. When did Mr. Molu get to know that? Is Mr. Molu implying that the Scott family, has some kind of a shady role to play in the death of this young woman? Did he not politicize the death?
I can't speak for the chairman of the ruling party. But
yes,
this is to the extent of my response to your question.
Okay.
And that's why I've said all shades of political persuasion and opinions should stop. Because it's not just Mr. Molu that have made comments. All of the different groups in this country make comments to the extent, some of them to the extent of pointing fingers at the government of Liberia for political assassination. Yes.
Okay.
In that America you were in, Councillor Jerome Verdia, the next 24 hours after this incident happened, this unfortunate and sadistic incident happened, was on a network vividly explaining as to what he thought had happened. I have not heard the very groups of condemnation of the death of that little girl. Straight to Councillor Verdia, can you bring us sufficient evidence so that we end this case? Since you say you know what happened. I haven't heard that. So let also in a Liberian parlance. Let also. Is it selective advocacy that people are doing? Hey man, Archbishop Francis then going here. The JPC that we used to know no longer. Are people hiding under the canopy of these names, calling themselves groups of concerned people and using it for their political ends? So let also. That's why I'm saying that as a government, we're not interested in all of these. For us, we want to know the truth. That is why we issued to the Ministry of Justice, the Justice Minister issued that, look, all political pundits, all actors at different levels, social communication, media people. We must stop our inferences and second guessing the case here to the extent that we think that there's an intended motive by anybody to pinch anybody to it. The investigation is continuing. And until that happens, and until a new and until is concluded, let's all cease fire, because it's all conjecturing and it's all about our different political opinion and shades. And it doesn't help the process. The police will be the police. Let the police do its work. And then we can subject the police findings to scrutiny.
Okay. Mr. Minister, we got 15 minutes to be with you. The intent was not to keep you this long, but with all of the glitches we were experiencing, so we'll be wrapping up at 9:30. But quickly, let's get back to the conversation of the National Housing and Census result as it is now. We heard that there was a lot of, I would call issues with the census. Some people came to social media and said it were never counted and all of that, but there was a preliminary number showing different segments of the country with increased population. How satisfied is the government with what has been provided by Ledgerhood so far?
Thank you for that, Volcano, and I think it's a very important point you raise here. I was at the official results of the ceremony marking the official pronouncement of the provincial results. 97% of Liberians were counted. There's nowhere in the world that everybody in every country will be counted. The results were certified, supported, and backed, and in fact, hailed by a plethora of our international partners. All the European Union countries that supported the process, the Americans, they spent their money, they agreed to the result. Liberians went out in the field. We can understand, and I will be the first to admit, and our government will be the first to admit, at the early stages of the administrative process, not the technical process. Okay. The administrative process didn't go well. But the technical process in the collation, the out in the field and all those kinds of things, they didn't have an issue. It was the administrative process. When we sorted the administrative process out, everything else flowed. And the results reflect the true count of Liberians to date. That's all I can say. I mean, can we bribe the UN? Can we bribe the EU, the European Union? Can we bribe the United Nations, the UNFPA? Can we bribe the Americans to agree to a flawed process? No, we can't. They spoke. Let people go back to the comments that were being made at the announcement of the results coming from our international partners. Sometimes I wonder, what is it we want? We want Jesus Christ and say correct, then we say, yeah, we agree.
Leggy, we want everything. We want everything. We want everything. You listen, Leggy, you and I know the country we grew up in. That's not a country, and it's understood or it's understandable that as a result of a war, civil war, like you said, kids born 1990 to now, they're just beginning to understand what freedom feels like, but they're overstepping their bounds, and what it has done, leading them down the road to destruction. We have a lot of little ghettos all over the country. Incalculable a number of our youth in, a state of dejection. And you and I know it. We see a lot happening. Even your colleague, Kwame Weeks, he goes out there in communities across the country and go to camps where Zogos are, quote unquote, the Liberian way of calling them. When we hear that the national budget for mental health is $30,000, I pitied your ministry already, to say the least. But when we talk about the foundation for our country. And you and I are fading out of the scene. We don't have much left. But if we have all of these
people, interruptible.
Yeah.
There's something called the At Youth Risk Program that I'm, as one of the ministers, I respond as a ranking member on the National Steering Committee working for our international partners. We recognize that problem.
Okay.
And that's what we'll launch in line with our international partners headed by the United Nations program in Liberia. It's an ambitious $30 million program last year.
Chief, let me call you Chief.
Drug issues.
Let me call you Chief. 13 million as that peanut for you.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, no, we're trying to, because you see, this is a program that was well crafted to understand across the board of our country what are the real issues are with respect to the young people and the drugs. Which nobody can glide it. It's not something that we can play politics with. It's something that we need to deal with. And this is not just a today's problem as a result of an administration. It's an exigency of the war. It's a product of our war situation.
Agreed.
And we're not shying away. We're dealing with it. So the first start is to recognize there is a problem, and then recognizing that problem and start to address it. And we're saying in line with our international partners, there's a program that's just been launched 6 months ago, $30 million to rehabilitate. In fact, just about a month ago, the first set of young men and women went through that program that would now become ambassadors to dealing with all of the different facets of the issues we face with young people in our country. Rome wasn't built in a day's time. Let's talk so. We're dealing with a multiplicity of problems. Liberians destroy Liberia. All different people destroy the country. And somebody thinks that in 20 years of peace, it's just going to be oasis. No, it's not going to be. We don't have the resources as a country. The priorities are even priority over priority. So we can look at Liberia from two standpoints: the glass half full or the glass empty, or the glass half empty. So, but the point here is we're making monumental progress. Just as Saturday at the program of a $40 million in the first time of a generation that the World Bank has given direct money for Liberian businesses, the women of our country, the small and medium-sized businesses, to get direct loans to invest, to build a digital credit system, which means that if I go take a loan from the bank A and think I can go to bank B to do it and falter on my loan, you're not going to do it. Look, we're rebuilding our whole country here. Moses and Volcano, we're rebuilding our whole country. Yeah. And that is why I always argue that when we're having these debates about Liberia, we should not take it to a regime. We should take it from a holistic standpoint. And nobody gave President we are an oasis.
And Leggy, I agree
he
with
didn't
you.
Inherit neither did Ellen Johnson Sirleaf inherit an oasis.
I agree.
We destroy our country.
I agree with you in part, and that's why sometimes I also say that.
And some of the people who say they are advocates of change were the very proponents of the destruction of the country. And there's a lot of blame to go around. But if we did that, where would we go? So for us, some of us who know better, we say, look, let's move forward. Let's leave the blame game. In developing, building country, people make mistakes. Then we can have a follow discussion. And that is why a platform like this is so necessary, to call people like us to hold our feet to the fire, to deal with us. Mr. Minister, you're not doing well this. Then we can explain. So, okay, you go back and go do what you gotta do. But not to be clown on radio, on air, then you're insulting people, you're accusing people, and then that you're creating you contributing to national development. No. Hold our feet to the fire. Criticize when there should be criticism, and applaud when there should be, applause.
Okay, so Mr. Minister, let me take you to the commitment of the administration to the fight on corruption, and let's go into your history a little bit. This administration came to the presidency. It committed itself to ensuring that corruption in Liberia is minimized. But the situation of corruption in Liberia, I'm sure, Mr. Minister, you will agree with me, it has exacerbated. It took a foreign country to bring to book 3 of your former officials, former Minister McGill, former Solicitor General Serena Cephas, and the former Managing Director. The U.S. sanctioned these individuals because the United States claimed that they were engaged in acts that undermines Liberia's ability to thrive, meaning that these individuals were engaged in acts that undermine the Liberian economy. Our president, George Weah, sat in Monrovia. He said nothing when all those things were happening. When Mr. Tua came to the presidency, he introduced what they called a mop-up exercise. $25 million. He told the world. Yeah.
Again, I say.
Okay, let's do it
one at a time.
Yeah, Moses, okay. You trying
no,
to.
I wanted to
the man know the story. Moses. The minister knows the story. Just say what the government doing on the fuel corrupt. The minister knows. Don't.
So, Mr. Minister,
just pick the cherry one at a time. You can go to specific. I don't mind dealing with the specifics.
Yeah. So, Mr. Minister,
let's pick the cherry one at a time.
So the man, Mr. Minister, the man talking about the 3 men there.
Yeah. Where are we when it comes to fighting?
The first thing first, let me correct the preamble.
Yeah.
That the government is corruption is at its highest level on the government.
It is.
I mean, I don't know where Moses got his empirical.
Mr. Minister is debated, but the records are out there.
If that were the case, the international community, the IMF, the World Bank, and all the indices coming out of Liberia will not tell the story that they're telling now. Just today, at the launch of the $40 million Lift Liberia Investment, Finance, and Trade Project that will deal with trying to give livelihood to ordinary Liberian businesses, winning with the specific interests and focus. The World Bank, the resident representative of the World Bank, who is going, he said, in the last 3 years, with all of the challenges across West Africa, Liberia maintained a stable, maintained a macroeconomic stability. Inflation remained very low. The government came into power and met an inflation that was in free fall, 30% and going. Today, it is at 6 to 7%. So let the politics and the politicians say what they want to say. But read these kinds of reports. I encourage you people to read these reports on Liberia, my people.
We do, Mr.
Social media will destroy Liberia.
Yeah.
You people have a responsibility to read more about Liberia.
Absolutely.
So when you talk about corruption and the three-person guy, the Americans say, okay, we accuse the 3 individuals. It means that the whole country corrupt now?
No, but Mr. Minister, Mr. Minister, we're not talking about somebody down the street. We are not talking about somebody down the street. Yeah, Mr. Minister.
People, look, what we've done. Let me say this much to you, Moses.
Sure, lady. Yeah.
This is the first time. Give me a chance. Give me a chance. I know you will come back to me.
But now we got to. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Minister.
Well,
Let me say this much.
I want you to pause before you say this much. People think that we're being lenient with you here tonight, but I don't know how much. I think it's the same perception, Mr. Minister. They want us to choke you. They want us to fight with you, and instead, I guess that's what it is. Because no matter how we're asking the tough questions, we're bringing you to some of the issues that
the very issues that we are addressing,
easily talked about, and you're addressing them. They still want us to fight with you.
So we'll fight. We're not asking the tough
Go ahead,
questions,
Mr. Minister.
Yeah, go ahead.
Look, let's say this much. And for Ghana, I agree, because a lot of Liberians, maybe perhaps, and that's why some of us, we have not invested a lot. And we talked earlier about not investing as a government in communication. That's why the naysaying out there in the diaspora about the very country is so rife as opposed to the real issues. I'm not saying Liberians and OSS or everything here is good, but I'm saying most of the, and I would say, and I would qualify it, 90% of the things that are in the diaspora about Liberia are based on falsehood or very little truth. But let me go back to the fight against corruption.
Mm-hmm.
People say, when people are accused by people, they go to the LECC. The LECC say the people are indicted, then government can go to court. What did the old law say? Honor President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who established, and mind you, let me make this point. I was always part of the former administration, and I respect the effort of President Sirleaf because I know what she did to bring this country to where she left it. So I want to make that caveat. But what did the old law say? They said when the LSCC investigates John Brown and find out that John Brown is culpable of corruption, it sends its report to the Ministry of Justice for validation of the evidence, so that the Ministry of Justice, which is the prosecutorial arm of government, takes that to court. That's the old law. The Ministry of Justice, the old law says, has 90 days to evaluate that evidence before it acts. Most often a time, there has been a difference of opinion between the Ministry of Justice and the LECC. So how matters will go to court, I don't know. Then you see the government stopping people from going, the people hiring to go to court. So this government came and said, you know what? Regardless of all the noise, we changed the law. We will give the LECC not just prosecutorial powers, but police power to arrest and detain people who are culpable. At the same time, who believe they are culpable. At the same time, we give whistleblowers protection. We got a new principle to protect them. And then when we take away the strong arm of the executive and the LECC and its members of its board of commissioners and all that stuff. So the president no longer can fire and hire and all that kind of stuff. What more can a government do in terms of showing commitment to corruption as opposed to anything else? Then you say something. We cannot just arbitrarily grab people because on the basis of yes, man, he paid too much, so paying or paying jail. Isn't it the same like grandpa will say
if the man had no money, he bid 2 houses within less than a year.
Lifestyle audit.
Yeah, man. So
have you done that?
Listen,
So the point here, Volcano.
Yeah.
So the point here, Volcano. Banks are giving loans. Banks are giving loans.
So no collateral.
I start working now. I go to bank and say something.
So no collateral, Mr.
The
Minister.
law says the accuser has the responsibility to provide evidence. Without evidence, how can government go to court?
But
Moses, we got to bring the callers in because I won't.
Yeah, let me just follow up.
I'm coming now. Let me give your number so they'll call you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and then you put that number to the because we're using this number where the minister is. The number to call, I will post it. For those of you who are closer to a pen and paper, is 302-494-4688. 302-494-4688. I'm going to send that number in now, and so you guys can call the number through Moses. Moses, quickly ask your question. Let's.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell my friend about Mr. Minister, the greatest challenge the administration is faced with is credibility. And, the government has credibility problem. So for everything the government does, the people don't believe in the government. That's why the government struggles. The issue of graft. A foreign senator referred to the Liberian presidency, the leadership, as an autocracy, a government of thieves. It took the United States to hold former Minister McGill and the others accountable. So with all of these things happening, then how do we boast of fighting graft? Hold for me, or Mr. Minister, someone's calling. Hello? Yeah, this is the issue room. Can you just hold for a while, please? Let the minister respond, please.
What's that? Yeah, but Moses.
Yes, hold, yeah. But let the minister answer first. Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Minister.
Sit down anywhere and I can just say, I don't care what somebody thought, I believe it. So it's subjective. But match it against what's the reality is a whole different ballgame. So when you say the government get credibility, I don't know why, but the international community continues to deal with Liberia at different levels. Next week, the president is going to the Democracy Forum, Washington, D.C., hosted by President Obama. What more credibility can that be? So people say that in the affluence in America, based on social media posting by people, citizen journalism, which is unfettered, which is unchecked and is biased, and make informed decisions on the basis of the wrong information. There's something that the government is credible. The president will leave from here next week to be in Washington, D.C., to be with his international colleagues on the forum of democracy. And it's a selection of leaders from across Africa, not just any place they can hurry. So what you're talking about, so there can be no better credibility between the Americans. If the government are not credible, they would select the president. We have to go there. So the main thing has to stop. We have to look at Liberia from a positive standpoint. We're not saying we have an oasis. We have a problem. The problem that exists in our country does not exist because of today's government. It has its linkages way back to the governance ecosystem of our country. And no one administration should take that blame. People come, they deal with it, they go ahead. Okay. They move on.
Take the caller, Moses.
Okay, look. Yeah, Mr. Minister, we have a caller online.
Open your volume.
We have a caller. So let me put a caller on so the caller can ask. Moses. Yeah. Yes. Hello, go ahead, sir.
Put your speaker on.
Mr. Minister, how you doing, sir?
Moses, your speaker. Put the speaker on the phone, then it will be loud.
My name is D.C. Wilson. I call from Johnston, Iowa. Yes, let's put it this way. A few months ago, I heard you on Clarence Jackson's OK FM.
Moses.
And you sounded very frustrated. You were not being supported, and what have you. And you also went as far as telling us your budget. That you could not work with such a budget. Nothing.
Yeah, Mr. Minister, that's a question for you.
But now today you have flipped,
That's
what it appears that everything is okay for you at the ministry.
That's what I did.
I'm looking at you.
That everything is okay for you with at the ministry because when the way you sounded on OK FM, it was that you were frustrated. But now you sounding very, like everything is fine. So how do you reconcile that? Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Minister, did you hear the caller? Is Ledger there? Mr. Minister?
Did you hear me?
Mr. Minister, did you hear the caller? Hold for me, my brother.
Ledger, can you hear me?
He's not hearing
us. Yeah, Ledger hear me. Hold on, I got a question, Moses. He can hear me clear. Let me just give it to him.
You heard a question?
So, yes. Mr. Minister, the caller is asking, you were on OK FM the other day and you look kind of,
Unhappy.
frustrated and unhappy with what was happening. But tonight you sound a little more defending of the government. They don't think that you're being honest here. What has changed overnight?
The issues are raised at OKFM have been addressed.
Okay.
That's the point. The issues are raised and been addressed. And thank God we raise those issues. We have meetings, as a government, we can have meetings of the mind, and perhaps it led to a fruition of the fact that the Ministry of Information needed more resources to do the work that we're doing.
Good. It's good that the government has stepped up to the place.
Any other caller, Moses?
No, not yet.
All right. Again, the number to call here tonight is 30. Let me get that number posted. 302-494-4688. 302-494-4688. And again, the minister is poised to be here with us a little more. So we want to give you guys the opportunity. You see, y'all are putting your mouth on. Just say we soft with the minister now. We give you the opportunity so y'all can come forward with him. Then you're scared to call. Mr. Minister, you see the same thing you're talking about.
Yeah. So
yeah, but you see, and Moses.
Yeah, go ahead.
I love the debate. Once the debate is not disrespectful of each other.
Yeah.
Regardless of the kind of questions one asks.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've never been grilled like this before.
Oh, come on, man. Are
relevant questions about the country.
Yeah.
You know, and if you were here, the local media will ask us the same kind of questions. Okay. We go through it every day. Yeah. I'm just saying, perhaps one of the reasons why and perhaps again, one of the reasons why we have not been adept the way we are, because you can't keep up with the speed of social media. And every time people read something on social media, they think it is true.
Okay. It seems
and they run with it and they form opinions about that. But not necessarily true.
We have another caller again.
Questions and the researching well, they will find out that most of the time, 90% of the time, the things that they read are falsehood. I got COVID when COVID was COVID, right?
Yeah.
My death was announced, I think, about 10 times.
Oh, but why I didn't hear it?
Well, but I'm just telling you. Facebook, I mean, my death was announced when I was sitting at home. Didn't even have a single symptom. I was asymptomatic. Never had a single fever, nothing.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
To the extent my brothers and family in America kept calling every day. My man, you sure you okay? I said, but we're talking.
Yeah.
My brother goes to a gathering, and my brother goes to a gathering. My brother goes to a gathering, and somebody telling him, my man, you are sure you are hiding?
Yeah. Mr. Minister, you got a phone call.
Answer the other call and put that person in queue.
Yeah, I did. Hello.
And my brother saying, my man, are you people crazy?
Hello.
You think that or something? But that is the extent of Liberians. When they hold a certain view, and no matter what you say, it is that view that they carry. No, it's that view that they carry. So we'll do the best we can.
Okay, we have another. We
have another caller, Mr. Minister. Hello.
Yes, this is Thomas in Atlanta.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Moses, you got to put that phone close to the microphone. It's not coming through, y'all.
I don't know what to do, Rob.
Listen, no, Moses, the phone, look at me. The phone port from this point, not in front of it, is here. It's at the butt. Trust me on it.
Okay. Hello?
Yes, Moses, this is Thomas in Atlanta. How you doing?
Yeah, go ahead, Thomas.
Yeah, I just had a quick question for the minister. When was the last time the government had a quarterly cabinet meeting?
Mr. Minister?
Mr. Minister, the caller is Thomas Awaji from Georgia. He wants to know when was the last time the government met in cabinet meetings? Quarterly, whether monthly? We don't hear about these things, Mr. Minister.
Okay.
The government meeting cabinet meeting, the last cabinet meeting of 2022 was in November. We deliberated on the issues of our international aid and how we're going forward in this year will deal with these things. President Weah is not one of such persons who like meetings just for the sake of meetings. If there are issues concerning certain sectoral ministries and agencies, he calls them in, and the